They do not pay corporate income tax. Ang corporate income tax, hinuhulog nila doon sa tao.
What a year it has been. From a game-changing campaign to address communist insurgency with President Rodrigo Duterte's Executive Order 70, to the long-awaited decision on one of the country's bloodiest political killings, the Maguindanao Massacre case, we look back at the stories that defined 2019. I am Rom Dulfo. Join us in the PNA Newsroom's Year-Ender Special. Here are some of the biggest stories that defined 2019. A verdict finally laid down on the trial of the decade, the Maguindanao Massacre case. A whole-of-nation approach changes the game in the government's anti-insurgency drive. New faces changing the landscape in public governance. We look back at the strides made with the Senate. A resolution in the trial of the decade. On December 19, after 10 years, the verdict has been laid down on the Maguindanao Massacre case, which is considered as the worst attack against members of the media in recent Philippine history. Janice Cave will bring us back to the so-called Judgment Day.
The elusive search for justice of the families of the 57 individuals, including 32 journalists killed in the Maguindanao Massacre, has come to a conclusion on December 19. The Maguindanao Massacre case verdict has been handed down, and the Quezon City Regional Trial Court found Dato Andal Ampatuan Jr., former Maguindanao Town Mayor, his siblings, and several others guilty for the murders. Aside from Ampatuan Jr., also found guilty are his brothers, former autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao Governor Dato Zaldi Puti Ampatuan and Dato Anwar Ampatuan Sr. The Quezon City Regional Trial Court also found guilty Dato Anwar Sajid Dato Ulo Ampatuan and Dato Anwar Dato EP Ampatuan Jr. guilty. A total of 101 individuals faced the trial out of the initial 197 who were originally included in the indictment. Meanwhile, 117 were arrested while 80 remain at large. The Maguindanao Massacre, which is considered as the worst attack against media members in recent Philippine history, took place on November 23, 2009 in Sitio Masalay, Buluan Town in Maguindanao. The victims were part of a convoy on their way to file their certificate of candidacy in Sharifagwak of Ismael Toto Mongodadatu. While on their way, a private militia of roughly 200 armed men intercepted the convoy and escorted them to Buluan Town, where they were told to get off their vehicles and then shot them point blank. Mongodadatu's sister and aunt were among those brutally killed by the armed men. The Department of Justice expressed satisfaction with the decision of the Quezon City Regional Trial Court convicting most of the principal accused in the case. However, the acquittal of some 56 accused in the massacre case proves that there are serious flaws in the country's justice system that need to be corrected, said presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo. Most of those acquitted were policemen assigned to Maguindanao province. Several were alleged members of the then powerful Ampatuan family's militia, and 2 were members of the controversial clan accused of orchestrating the crime. Judge Jocelyn Solis Reyes ruled that the police officers accused were deemed totally innocent of the crimes charged against them. Meanwhile, Presidential Communications Operations Office Secretary Martin Andanar said he was satisfied with the court's ruling. Andanar said he respects Solis Reyes' decision as he believed that the latter had to go through a democratic and judicial process to ensure the release of a fair ruling. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
An uncertain future for the country's major utility firms. After water shortage problems hit Metro Manila early 2019, President Duterte has moved to review the contracts of Manila Water and Maynilad, which he says are laden with provisions disadvantageous to the Filipino people. We take a close look at this pressing issue and how the water firms will face the new decade. Here's our report.
Families wait in long snaking lines on streets, in subdivisions, or even in condominiums. They wait hours to get their daily water supply from tanker trucks. a waterless Metro Manila shaped early 2019. But issues on the water shortage did not ease as concerns continued as Ayala-led Manila Water Corporation and another concessionaire, Maynilad Water Services Incorporated, face an uncertain future. The Duterte government has pushed for a review of the water firm's contracts, with President Duterte himself saying the contracts were laden with provisions that were disadvantageous to Filipinos.
Kaya hindi ko talaga malaman kung paano ko bibirahin to. Because I want everybody, yung mga abogado dyan noon, kung ayaw nilang pupunta dito, edi I will drag them. Then if you will force my hand, I will throw my last card. Then I will suspend the spirit of habeas corpus at hilain kayo. Widespread economic sabotage. Hindi siya na, arigluhin natin. How? How will I compromise? That's plunder. That is the classic economic plunder. How can now I tell the people as president, address, but arigluhin na lang natin to.
President Duterte will make a major announcement in relation to the alleged onerous contracts between the government and the water concessionaires in January 2020, Malacanang said on December 19. Although mum on details about the president's upcoming revelation, presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo assured that the chief executive remains determined to resolve the water issue before the end of his term in 2022. Earlier, Panelo said the president wanted the alleged onerous provisions in the water contracts removed. He said the president was still keen on hearing the explanation of those involved in the drafting of the water contracts as to why they allowed the provisions which were disadvantageous to taxpayers. President Duterte began questioning the alleged onerous provisions after the Singapore-based Permanent Court of Arbitration issued separate decisions compelling the Philippine government in 2017 to pay 3.4 billion pesos to Maynilad and in November 2019 to compensate 7.39 billion pesos to Manila Water for the losses the two firms allegedly suffered due to non-implementation of increases in water rates. He said the concession agreements apparently mirrors the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Law or Republic Act 3019. The president refused to pay them and instead threatened to sue them for economic sabotage. President Duterte asked the Department of Justice and the Office of the Solicitor General to craft new water concession agreements that are favorable to the state and the Filipino people. He also floated the idea of ordering the military to take over the operations of the two water concessionaires. On December 10, Maynilad and Manila Water have written separate letters to Duterte expressing their intent to review the alleged onerous provisions in the existing water concession deals. The Metropolitan Water Works and Sewerage System had revoked the approved 15-year extension of concession agreements with Manila Water and Maynilad that are supposed to expire in 2037. This means the two firms only have until 2022 to operate since the 2009 resolution extending the 25-year concession deal signed in 1997 is considered ineffective. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Bench Bondo.
Still to come, vital tax measures approved and prospects of pushing for new departments under House Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano's leadership. And despite an exhaustive probe on the Good Conduct Time Allowance Law, we look back at the achievements of the Senate. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Ito ang Duterte on Duty. Ulat sa ginagawa ng Presidente. December 9, Lunes, Malacanang. Pinangunahan ni Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte ang Joint AFP-PNP Command Conference. Pinanumpa niya ang mga bagong talagang general, flag officers ng AFP at star rank officers ng PNP. Pinuri niya ang Philippine Army Shooting Contingent na nag-uwi ng 22 medalya mula sa ASEAN Army's Rifle Meet 2019 sa Indonesia. Hinarap niya rin ang mga labor attachés mula sa Department of Labor and Employment at tinanggap ang miniature Duterte dolls mula sa toy maker na si Dennis Mendoza. December 10, Martes, Malacanang. Pinanumpa ni Pangulong Duterte ang mga na-promote na uniformed personnel mula sa Bureau of Fire Protection, Bureau of Jail Management and Penology at Philippine Coast Guard. Pinuri at pinasalamatan niya ang AFP Council of Sergeant Majors sa pagpapanatiling ligtas ng bansa. Nagkaroon din ng pagtitipon para sa naulila ng mga pulis at sundalong namatay habang nagsiservisyo sa bayan. December 14, Linggo, Polosulu. Pinarangalan ng Pangulo ang mga nagpapagaling ng sundalo at pulis sa Camp Teodolfo Bautista Hospital. Nasugatan sila sa engkwentro kontra Abu Sayyaf sa Patikul, Sulu. Binisita rin ng Pangulo ang mga sundalo ng 11th Infantry Division. December 17, Martes, Quezon City. Dumalo si Pangulong Duterte sa 84th anniversary ng Armed Forces of the Philippines sa Camp Aguinaldo.
Ang sundalo kasi natin, sundalo ng bayan at utusan ng bayan at runner ng bayan at lahat na. Kagaya nangyari sa Mindanao, may earthquake, nandoon sila. Pag magbaha, nandoon sila.
They do not pay corporate income tax. Ang corporate income tax, hinuhulog nila doon sa tao.
After fighting tooth and nail in a tight speakership battle, House Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano rallied members of the chamber to restore public trust and build a house of the people. Vital tax measures and a record time approval of the proposed 2020 national budget were among the achievements of the House for 2019. More gains in 2019 and the prospects for 2020, the details in this report from Laid Kabagani.
Upon taking the chamber's helm, Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano vowed to make the House relevant, responsive, and reliable by changing negative perceptions and restoring the waning trust of the public. As he was sworn in as the country's 22nd Speaker, he called on House members to unite and transform the chamber as the House of the People. Cayetano emerged victorious in a tight speakership battle with major contenders such as Marinduque Representative Lord Alan Velasco, Leyte Representative Martin Romualdez, Davao del Norte Representative and former Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez, and even Davao City Representative and presidential son Paulo Duterte. However, the top position of power in the House comes with a price as Cayetano must honor a 15-21 term sharing deal with Velasco. Under the term sharing agreement brokered by President Duterte on July 22, Cayetano would hold the post for 15 months or up to October next year, after which Velasco takes over for the final 21 months. With already 5 months in, the incumbent speaker has so far displayed a stellar performance as made evident in his high trust and approval ratings that reflect restoring public trust in Congress. House Majority Leader Martin Romualdez noted that for the first time ever, a Speaker of the House received an 80% trust rating and 76% approval rating in the latest survey of Pulse Asia conducted in December. Romualdez, who chairs the House Committee on Rules, said the chamber processed a total of 900 measures in 32 session days, or an average of 28 measures per day, as a commitment to deliver the legislative agenda of President Duterte. Among the priority measures were the postponement of the May 2020 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections to December 2020 and the establishment of malasakit centers as one-stop shops for financial and medical assistance, both of which had been signed into law. Romualdez highlighted that the record time approval of the proposed 2024.1 trillion pesos national budget was one of the major achievements of the House for the first regular session of the 18th Congress. To avert another scenario of reenacted budget, senators and congressmen comprising the Bicameral Conference Committee approved on December 11 the final version of the 2020 national budget. Vital tax measures were also approved approved on final reading by the lower chamber, such as the bill amending the Foreign Investment Act of 1991, the Passive Income and Financial Intermediary Taxation Act, and the Corporate Income Tax and Incentive Rationalization Act. Meanwhile, another tax proposal that seeks to increase the tax on electronic cigarettes and impose higher duties, as contained in the Package 2 Plus B of the Comprehensive Tax Reform Program, is up for the President's signature. These bills, Romualdez say, are important parcels of the Comprehensive Tax Reform Program that is required to help reach the A credit rating goal of the Duterte administration. He attributed the House productivity to both majority and minority staff work ethic in doing their jobs creditably, underscoring that democracy is at work in the chamber. Other bills approved on third and final reading include proposals that would benefit public sector workers, particularly the proposed Salary Standardization Law 5 and the lowering of the optional retirement age of the government employees to 56 years old. Cayetano noted that the year ahead represents a perfect vision towards the House goal of uplifting the lives of Filipinos, which is the core of most of the priority legislative measures. Romualdez said for 2020, the House would pass important measures such as the creation of new departments, a Department of Filipino Overseas and Foreign Employment, and a Department of Disaster and Resilience, as well as the bill allowing Department of Health to set and approve the bed capacity of its retained hospitals nationwide. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Laid Cabagan.
A record number of bills and resolutions. Senate President Tito Sotto credits this feat to the upper chamber's members comprised of a mix of veteran, returning, and neophyte senators. In this report, we take a look at the Senate's triumphs as we also look back at the controversy of the year, which the upper chamber exhaustively probed, the Good Conduct Time Allowance Law, which led to the uncovering of several anomalies in the Bureau of Corrections or Bucor and the PNP. William Theo with this story.
This was how Senate President Vicente Soto III described the first 6 months of the Senate in the first regular session of the 18th Congress. The Senate President said the hard work, tenacity, and steadfastness of a mix of veteran, returning, and neophyte senators who comprise the chamber following the midterm elections has resulted in a record number of bills and resolutions filed, foremost of which is the 2020 national budget. He cited the inquiry that the chamber, led by the Committees on Justice and on Accountability of Public Officers and Investigations, which conducted probes into the implementation of the Good Conduct Time Allowance or GCTA law. Topping the list of the Senate's accomplishments in the first 6 months of the 18th Congress is the passing of the 4.1 trillion 2020 General Appropriations Act, which the upper chamber ratified and adopted last December 11. The Senate has also passed 2 bills that were enacted into law, Republic Act number 11462 and Republic Act number 11463. Principally authored by Senator Amy Marcos, RA 11462, the first law to be passed in the 18th Congress, postpones the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan election scheduled for next year to December 5, 2022. Soto said this aims to give incumbent officials more time to implement their programs and to enforce the right of the subject officials to serve a full 3-year term. Meanwhile, RA 11463 or the Malasakit Center Act was the brainchild of Senator Christopher Lawrence Bongo. This measure provides for the establishment of Malasakit centers in all government-owned hospitals that will serve as a one-stop shop for easy access to medical and financial assistance needed to receive health care services and a complementary to the Universal Health Care Program. The Senate also passed several bills on third and final reading, which includes the National Day of Remembrance for Road Crash Victims Act, the Night Shift Differential Pay, the National Transportation Safety Board Act, an act fixing the validity period of the license to own, permit to carry, and registration of firearms, the Salary Standardization Law 5, and establishment of separate facilities for prisoners convicted of heinous crimes. The most recent was Senate Bill number 1074, or an act amending the National Internal Revenue Code by increasing the excise tax on alcohol, heated tobacco, and vapor products, which the Senate ratified last December 18, the last session day for the year. Once enacted into law, Soto said the measure would promote healthy living through the increase of excise tax on items considered harmful to our bodies, which would eventually give our government revenues that will fund the various programs of the administration. Meanwhile, the inquiry by the Senate Blue Ribbon and Justice Committees, which are both chaired by Senator Richard Gordon, on the implementation of the Good Conduct Time Allowance or GCTA law, led to the uncovering of several anomalies in the Bucor and the PNP. The inquiry was an offshoot of Senate Resolution number 107 that Soto filed seeking a review of RA 10592 following reports that convicted rapist killer former Calauan Laguna Mayor Antonio Sanchez could be released from prison because of supposed good behavior. Testimonies from witnesses during the Senate probe uncovered several money-making schemes inside the new Bilibid prison, foremost of which are the so-called GCTA for sale and the hospital pass for sale. From GCTA, the Senate inquiry shifted to drug reselling and the so-called Ninja Cops after former PNP Criminal Investigation and Detection Group or CIDG Chief and now Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong bared the so-called Agaw Bato scheme or the practice of drug recycling inside the National Penitentiary. Magalong said several high-ranking police officers are still involved in reselling illegal drugs after they confiscate them from drug suspects. No less than former PNP Chief General Oscar Albayalde was dragged into the controversy. Because of the GCTA controversy, the Senate immediately filed a proposed measure that would exempt convicts of heinous crimes from the benefits of GCTA. Ombudsman Samuel Martires ordered on September 9 the 6-month preventive suspension without pay of 27 officials of the Bureau of Corrections. On October 18, the Senate Blue Ribbon and Justice Committees also recommended the filing of charges against Albayalde and the 13 alleged Ninja Cops. Soto said the inquiry caused the amendment of the implementing rules and regulations of the GCTA law in order to adhere to the real intent of its authors. For the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo.
Up next, the government's campaign to end communist insurgency gaining headway with the implementation of Executive Order 70. And what other stories shaped 2019? We ask the public. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Pag may pumutok na volcano, sila yung nauna. Pag may flooding, sila yung nauna. At lahat na may landslide, sila yung kukot-kot doon sa lupa. At kung may gulo, nandoon sila. If there is their order, they establish order. If there is a lawless environment, they provide stability. Ang sundalo natin, atong mga sundalo, they are everything. And that is why you should love your soldier. Tayong mga Pilipino, tulungan natin.
Malacanang, naganda ng Thanksgiving party si Pangulong Duterte para sa mga miyembro ng LGBT Pilipinas. December 18, Miyerkules, Malacanang. Pinuri at pinarangalan ni Pangulong Duterte ang mga atletang Pinoy na nagbigay karangalan sa bansa sa katatapos lang na SEA Games 2019.
I just take this opportunity to congratulate everyone who played an integral part in its success. This outcome serves as a testament of the great things we can achieve when we work together. The blood, sweat, and tears that you have shed to earn this prestigious recognition is truly inspiring.
December 20, Biyernes, Quirino Grandstand. Pinanood ng Pangulo ang kauna-unahang Presidential Silent Drill Competition na layong ipakita sa publiko ang importansya ng Reserve Officers Training Corps o ROTC. Ako po si Secretary Martin Andanar at ito ang Duterte on Duty. Abangan sa susunod na linggo ang mga gagawin ng Pangulo.
They do not pay corporate income tax. Ang corporate income tax, hinuhulog nila doon sa tao.
2019 saw the Philippine government's counter-insurgency efforts moving forward, especially with the implementation of President Duterte's Executive Order 70, which formed the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict. Before 2019 closes, the chief executive has extended an olive branch to communist rebels anew as he reconstituted the government's peace panel with the National Democratic Front. Bench Bondok with his year-end report.
On December 13, less than 2 weeks before Christmas, a policeman and some civilians were killed in an ambush allegedly orchestrated by members of the Communist New People's Army in Borongan City, Eastern Samar. Government authorities and several groups expressed condemnation over the attack, calling it a senseless act as it was done during the Yuletide season. This is among the attacks this year perpetrated by the rebel group Armed Wing of the Communist Party of the Philippines. In December 2018, President Rodrigo Duterte himself signed Executive Order 70, which created the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, which sought to institutionalize a whole-of-nation approach to attain inclusive and sustainable peace nationwide. It also directed local peace bodies to hold negotiations with communist rebels in their respective areas. Presidential Communications Operations Office Secretary Martin Andanar has expressed confidence that President Duterte's administration will win the game in addressing the decades-long communism in the country. Andanar has said that the Duterte government has made significant strides since the signing of EO 70. He also hoped that stakeholders would participate in the government's resolve to maintain peace and order all throughout the country. National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon Jr. in November said the NTF-LCAC has so far organized 17 regional task forces led by the Cabinet Officers for Regional Development Security or CORDS, while the local chief executives have led the provincial, municipal or city and village task forces. Serving as CORDS in northern Mindanao, Andanar lauded the RTF-LCAC in the area for helping the national government in putting an end to communism in the country. The anti-insurgency group continues to pursue efforts to accomplish target goals for this year while gearing up the implementation of more programs and projects for peace and development in 2020. President Duterte has in fact gave peace talks with communist rebels another chance after reconstituting a peace panel with the rebels as he named Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea as one of its members. This announcement was made on December 22 as the chief executive declared a 16-day ceasefire with the rebels, which took effect on December 23 and will last until January 27. The peace negotiations were formally scrapped through the issuance of Proclamation 360 on November 23, 2017, due to ceaseless attacks launched by NPA rebels against government troops and civilians. The CPP-NPA is currently tagged as a terrorist organization in the country. Apart from the Philippines, the United States, the European Union, the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand have listed the CPP-NPA as a terror group. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Bench Bondo.
This time, we asked the public, what for them were the stories or issues that shaped and defined 2019? Our kababayans will help us sum up the year with today's episode of Boses ng Masa.
Kay President Duterte po, yung mga nagawa niya at saka yung mga simpleng pamumuhay niya.
Bagyo po. Kasi po, doon po sa pinanggalingan ko po, malakas po yung bagyo, daanan po ng bagyo.
Taga saan po kayo?
Galing po ako ng Northern Samar po.
Yung po mga kalamidad po, yung mga lindol, bagyo, yun lang po. Siyempre, hindi lang natin alam kasi tsaka yung mga masasama nangyayari.
Yung mga lindol po. Kasi po, hindi po nakakatakot po yun. Yung mga dumating na ganun.
Yung sa droga po na may napagbabago. Yung dito sa yung mga sidewalk, yung mga ganyan. Mahigpit ang
Yung nilinis po?
Oo, nililinis, oo.
Yung sa lindol, doon sa yung kakapasok lang na lindol nung nakaraan, medyo apektado kasi tayo lahat eh. Yung Olympics, masaya rin kasi yun nga, nakilala yung Pilipinas dahil doon.
Take another look at today's biggest stories. A verdict finally laid down on the trial of the decade, the Maguindanao Massacre case. A whole-of-nation approach changes the game in the government's anti-insurgency drive. New faces changing the landscape in public governance. We look back at the strides made by the Senate. Thank you for watching the year-end special of the PNA Newsroom. These stories define 2019 and will further shape history in the coming year. To check more news content, check our webpage or follow the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more news about the government, how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags on all our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. As the new decade opens, the Philippine News Agency will continue to bring you stories that inspire change. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I am Rom Dulfo. Happy New Year.